Hey family, I want to see if I can do this. I'm driving down the Carretera. Please forgive me if the video is shaky or whatever, because I got to keep one hand on the wheel. And I still don't know where I'm supposed to look. I think it's there, but I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to try and cram this into, we shoot for 15 minutes or less, so here we go. March 2021, after spending a brief amount of time at Tamawanchan with some folks who, had all the scars for the look at me, I did the Sundance and this kind of stuff. They convinced me to buy a piece of land from them. So the land they bought from some other guy, but they didn't buy it. They only put down half, and then so basically they only paid 300,000 pesos for the land, and then they turned around and did a promissory note with me to sell it to me for 1.6 million. Now, of course, you see the world as you are, right? So I think to myself, man, if I'm here in the Camino Rojo and I'm following this spiritual path and I'm doing the Sundance and all that stuff, right? And if I'm living across the street, because they were living across the street from this piece of land that they proposed to sell to me. So I just, I guess I'm making excuses now, but I fell for it. All right, so leave it at that. And they sold it to me for a promissory note, agreed to sell it to me for 1.6 million, which, let me see if I can do the math. That's like almost 6 times more than what they paid for it. And bear in mind, until you pay the contract in full, the land is not yours to put up a fence, to build nothing, to let or sublet or build on, or definitely not to sell it to somebody else. But that's what these folks did. And of course, it took me a while. That's not the only issue with the land. There's this other small issue off to the side that it shouldn't have even been sold for 600,000 pesos, those parcels, because that's price that you would pay for residential area. And this place is an agricultural flood zone. So, but somebody come up with some fake documents in the notary's office in Tepic so that they could codify this agricultural land, thereby increase the revenue, but increase the value of the land. Look, it's being sold for these high residential prices, and therefore we're going to codify it with these cadastral codes, these codes of the church. And what's the other word they use for them? Predials, Predials. Basically, it's like a registration number, so you can tax me on the real estate, right? It's called codification of the land. And it's wicked, as you can imagine, because even if you do manage to pay for your house and you're living, rent-free, you just, see what happens if you don't pay your taxes, right? To live in your own house. Anyhow, so that's the motivation on the part of the notary to draw up these fake papers to say that these land over here is residential land with these parcel numbers and blah, blah, blah. And then from there flows the fraudulent, everything that flows from there is fraudulent because the concept and the intention is fraud. But then from the notary's, legal fiction documents comes the so-called attorneys that grab it and run with it and make sales contracts to say that, in this case, sorry, I have to switch hands. In this case, that this person has a right specifically said from the get-go, I said, I'm not interested in your codification of the land. I'm okay with leaving the land as an ejido. I'm okay with it being agriculture. I don't want to see it turned into a concrete jungle. I don't want to see people have to pay taxes to live in their own houses. I want freedom and liberty. And so, no, let's just do a bill of sale. I said, you offer to me in your handwritten bill of sale, and you sign your name, you present yourself, and I'll present myself, right? And we're not going to be represented in the legal system by anyone or anything. In this case, the claim is that she owns the land because look at my papers. Anywho, so that's the background on the land and the price and the fact that this person had no right to sell it to me. And then when I came to find out the facts of the situation, I said, look, I don't feel comfortable paying you anymore. First of all, the land has massive defects. You didn't tell me there's no electricity and no water. That is a huge smash to my budget that I had set aside to build, because now I gotta pay however many hundreds of thousands of pesos for some source of electricity and access to water, right? Right. Anyway, so on top of that, by the way, you don't own the land. Now, I could be wrong, but you go ahead. I'm gonna give you several months to go ahead and prove that you own the land. You show me what your proof is. And of course they didn't do it. And so then she said to talk to her attorney. So I did have a meeting with this attorney in 2022. And I said, because in the meantime, you see, once I stopped making payments, she filed a demand that I continue to pay her the last 10% of 1.6 million pesos, which, refresh, was almost 6 times her initial investment. No, it's not enough. She wants me to continue to making payments to her for a piece of land that doesn't belong to her. I'm not kidding, people. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. Just for real. So after she filed this demand on me, I said, all right, let's put it in writing, and instead of just having personal meetings or council meetings with your attorney, who, by the way, I had one meeting with this guy, and I'm not look, I'm just making an observation. When I asked him the one question that I asked him, he was so nervous automatically, you could tell he was up to something good. He's very, very nervous, very unsettled. And I just said, look, show me your evidence of your material evidence to support your client's claim of, and I filled in the blank. And he just, I thought he was going to pee on himself. That's how scared he was. Well, that was one thing. And then when I repeated the question, because he avoided it the first time, so I repeated the question, and he simply said to me, why don't you go to Tepic and you find the evidence? And then I said to him, look, that's your client's claim. It is not my role, my duty, or my responsibility to provide evidence to support your client's claims. That's something that you and she need to work together and figure out what you're going to present. It have nothing to do with me. Do not dare ask me to go to all the way to Tepic to investigate. We would call this a title search kind of thing, right? But with monumental ass pain, you're talking a whole day just sitting on the road in traffic. And plus, I don't know, there's some guy waving a flag on the side. Oh, okay, there's an accident up here. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. There was a dude waving a flag on the road. would flick my lights at the oncoming traffic to warn them that there's an accident over here. Because people fly down this road so fast. Don't even think it's springtime, and there's like animals that are breeding and they're moving about. They're coming out of their hibernation to make nests. And hang on, I'm gonna make sure everybody sees me flicking my lights. For don't nobody try to get up in this line and pass. Lordy. Okay, where was I, family? Right. Yes, so with this suggestion that I perform the research and discovery to provide evidence for his client's claims. And after I told him, that I said, how fucking ridiculous, are you serious? And with that, he just started really shaking so bad that literally I thought he was going to pee on himself. I felt bad for him in a way, but anyway, he got up and left the office very abruptly. We had scheduled an hour to an hour and a half for a co-counsel, myself and him and a witness. And yeah, he got up. He wasn't in the room more than 5 minutes. That's the usual reaction that attorneys have to me when I open up my mouth. But bless them. Anyway, so let's move on in the story so you got the full background. So they filed this demand, and they gave me 8 count that I said, that's right, 8 days after I had provided them with a year to show me your evidence to support your claim. They went and filed a demand, and I was given 8 days to provide evidence to support my claim. And support my claim I did. And again, I said, look, it would appear that this is the case. Please provide your evidence to illustrate that what appears to be is not. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Here's your deadline. Here's another 6 months. You got a staff of 22 people working in your office. They all speak fluent Spanish, and they're all very well connected within the industry of the legal system. They know exactly who to call to find out any fucking thing they want to find out in a moment's notice. And you've had this case in your jurisdiction for, what was it? Since, I don't know how many years now. It's at least 3. But in some instances, it started in your court 15 years ago. And this is just another offshoot. But listen, Ramon, that was the name of the judge. In the paperwork in my final communique, I said, listen, it would appear that, especially because this is why it would appear this way, because you have access to all these staff members, and you're all well connected in the business, and I'm a brand new gringo over here, don't even speak hardly a word of Spanish, I just got here, right? Don't know nothing about nothing, I don't know where to begin looking, right? But I found out, sure did. Now, that's why it appears, Ramon, that you are actually facilitating and condoning this fraud. And the words I used, try not to laugh, but these are the words that you use when you, how do they say, question authority in the courts. I said, look, it would appear for these reasons, and for this evidence that I provide here, this one, oh, by the way, there's a witness testimony of another attorney that I don't even know, and he vouched on my behalf and said that land doesn't belong to Maria. so it seems pretty clear whose claim is supported and whose isn't. And if I can figure this out in 8 days without your staff and all your connections and your hookups and everything that you have, hang on, I'm going to get in this right-hand lane for my bad, people. I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong lane to be driving so slow. I said, well, it would appear that you are using the honorable business of the court to knowingly commit fraud. Please correct me if my observations are erroneous. You please take this next 90 days to correct my presumptions based on material evidence and observation of the facts. Because I certainly, Mr. Judge, don't want to presume anything. And with that, the judge quietly stepped out of the office, packed up everything. He had to what's called recuse himself. But wait, more drama. Because one thing for sure, if you're in Mexico, they gonna have some drama for your ass. I'm just saying, these folks is crazy as hell. Crazy as hell. Just non-stop drama. Not a moment's peace. It's like the peace scares them or something. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is, and I can't judge, right? But I'm just making an observation. Damn, and you know what else? I need to be turning off here pretty soon, and I don't never remember where I'm supposed to turn. I want to say it's the next light. Okay, I'm digressing a little bit here, but yeah, I just want you to have that full story. So the judge recused himself, and for when they came to serve this demand on me, it was in August of 2022, and they sent this unwitting court official along with Maria's fake attorney and her fake papers and that was it. It was just those two, wasn't it? No, there was a third person, but I don't know what that third person's role was because I didn't really see her doing anything. But these folks was banging on my door, banging on my windows, screaming at me, peering in my windows, telling me I had to answer the door. I'm like, you need to get off my property before you get hurt. This is not how I accept communication from anybody. You don't just drop in on me whenever you feel like it at my house and start banging. I don't even know you. Who the fuck is you? I'm getting all, my back hair's up and stuff, right? My background in the military and shit. I don't know. Like I said, drama. So after like 40 minutes of banging on the windows and staring in the windows, and like I thought they were going to break the windows of my house, they were banging on the windows so hard, telling me I needed to come to the door and sign for a piece of paperwork. I'm like, I don't need to do shit. You got something to send to me? You send it through the post office. That's right, son. You heard me right. You send it through the post office because if you send something through the post office and it's fraud, that's automatic jail time, son. So you take your paperwork, whatever you feel like you need to deliver and send to me and give to me, and that's how you send it. And meanwhile, get off my property because you're not welcome here. So after some time, and they refused to leave, because they like to poke the bear. Everybody these days especially wants a piece of me. Let me see how far I can poke. And then when you come back and, sort of give them the feedback of their poking you, right? Then they run and cry and scream victim, which is what this lady did. And I barely applied any force, really. It's the most effective, but like as far as the amount of force goes, it's very minimal force. To remove this woman from my property. And she's been holding a grudge against me ever since then, because, she's a feminine of the Kali Yuga. She's doing wicked things in the courts for the wicked conquistador system. And it's paying her good money, and I'm not judging or blaming her either. I'm just saying it's in divine order, this act on the stage. That's all I'm saying. Now, of course, she's going to hold a grudge against me. So as soon as the judge recused himself, she took it upon herself without any authority. And literally, I mean, you know how they are. Well, maybe you don't. They are big time. When you go down to the Americas and you start to engage with the government, any kind of legal system or whatever, you start to engage with stuff like that. They are all about their stamps and their signatures. I mean, there got to be like 10 stamps on a piece of paper. Like, everybody got to get in there. Boom, boom. And it's so funny to watch them do this, especially in the bank, because they it's like a way to let their frustrations out, right? And they're all about their stamps. And if you get a stamp with your signet or your name on it to say, I'm the office of such and such, well, now you've really arrived and your ego's really caught up in it. So you just have this huge love, right, for all these stamps and everything. And oh yeah, you got to have the numbers on the page. They told me we can't accept this evidence because you didn't put this number at the top of it. And I'm like, fuck off. I don't play games in the legal system. This is how I present myself, and get over it. Anyway, so yeah, I put my numbers on the page and did all the shit they said to do. But that, anyway, so this woman who I removed from my property in 2022, then after I proved my case and won my case in the civil court of the demand, I won the case, and the judge recused himself. Susanna is her name. She took it upon herself to pretend to be judge for a day, if for no other case, just mine. And she signs on the back how I have to keep on paying, and how the decision was made that Maria's contract is valid. But here's the funny part. The evidence that she provided to substantiate her escalation of a demand and immediate eviction proceedings, it would seem. Like, fuck that. No, we don't need to wait 2 years like everybody else. We can throw Teddy out now. And it's like right behind her claim, which is, by the way, without a power of attorney. There's no power of attorney anywhere throughout the record indicated as representing Maria. So she's making this claim on her own without any representation whatsoever. So I'm sure that Susanna knows what that means. And I'm sure she's been instructed to do that in order that I may give the honor of my goodwill, extend that to the judge and all his staff who are accomplice to these crimes that are being committed. And by isolating Maria and thereby naming only one defendant in a criminal case. So I see, the strategy there, and probably that she received some instructions to do that. But honey, look at, you did this and you didn't put no stamps on nothing. There's no judge's summary. There's no page of conclusion indicating, which evidence was reviewed. And, there's no, the judge himself is absent. Where's that the office is absent? Now, I was having this conversation with her. I said, you really think you can escalate this with this evidence? This is so sloppy. I get it. I get it. It's not your job, right, to do this for Maria. But you realize you're putting her out there, she's putting herself out there without a power of attorney, so she can't hide behind somebody. The fiduciary and duty and the liability and all of it rests on her shoulders and her shoulders alone. Now, did she have people helping her with that? Yes, of course. And what people did she have helping her with that? Well, she had the judge. And they had the notary in Tepic. By the way, the notary also had to withdraw. Yes, that's right. In this evidence that Maria presented as being supporting of her claim, the first thing she offers up in there is some fake paperwork from a notary's office in Tepic indicating the cadastral codes and predials, which if you do a search on those, you can find immediately that they have been abandoned. Now, it doesn't say what day, but basically the fake paperwork that Maria was using as her number one piece of evidence has been redacted by the issuing authority, meaning the notary that gave this papers to Maria to pursue fraudulent claims has redacted the file, right? So I'm right there is what? Like, okay, what's the second piece of evidence that you've offered here in Maria's case file, to escalate this even more than it already has been escalated? Oh, well, that's next piece of paperwork I have is, wait for it, a letter from a third party that I don't even know. As far as I know, I never even met this dude. And he's speaking up on my behalf. Also trying to distance himself because he knows I'm onto this shit. He's part of the fraud as well. And he put a letter in the case file on my behalf saying that Maria does not own the land. And he happens to know that because he's the attorney for the guy that does claim to own the land and who sold it to Maria, and confirmed that Maria has not finished paying him. So there's your two pieces of evidence that Maria submits without a power of attorney for the purpose of escalating even further this fraudulent claim, and to the point where she's inflicting almost daily violent trespass threats. Oh my God, they've set fire. I mean, they burned this child that lives in my house. I mean, these people are, when I say these folks is wicked actors on the stage, that's a mild understatement. But anyway, it's all good. It's all in divine order. So here I am, wandering through the streets of Bucerias, on my way to the courthouse, into the very den of this wickedness, to hand deliver. Oh, by the way, I have visuals. Visual aids, is that like something other than me talking? So like, I got these letters, right? I don't know if you can see that, but this is the third envelope, right? So I'm trying to communicate in a legal, lawful way to indicate that my claims are true and I'm not up to any fraud. So I send things through the Mexican post office by way of registered mail. That's the third envelope. And they had 23, 24 days to deliver this letter to a location that's an hour away from the post office. And for 3 weeks, it's been one excuse after another why they can't deliver it. Of course they can't deliver it. These people don't want to communicate in this lawful and legal manner. They don't want to be put on notice. So what's in the envelope? Well, I'm glad you asked. Inside this envelope, we have what's called a cease and desist order. So it's a letter from me telling all actors in the court and other third parties that I may or may not be aware of to cease and desist all activity and to remand the case back to the lower court so that there can be a quality check control, before we send it up. Because if I looked at this, just my preliminary question as if I was a judge in this case, which technically I am, I have the common sense. I can judge things, I mean, not judge them in the way that, this is, but I know what's right and what's wrong. Another, kind of this just everyday life in Mexico. NQR. Shit just don't. And then they'll be like, oh, we're just repairing this street, and you're just supposed to automatically know what the diversionary street is. You're just supposed to wander around indefinitely trying to find another way. It's all good. So I'm backing up right now. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, wait. Okay, where was I? Yeah, that would be my first comments out of my mouth, and that's, if you're lucky, that would be all I would say. And I would probably fire your ass if you were a law clerk responsible for the quality control and the check of a case file before it goes before, you know, as they say, before a judge. And I'm the judge. Let me just tell you, I can't even tell who's the claimant and who's the defendant. It's you're saying that the claimant is Maria, but Maria is providing support for the claim of the defendant. So can you please, and while you're at it, you're missing a lot of stamps and signatures on here, sister. The last time I checked, your title was LIC, for one who holds a license, one who has had the education to be a law clerk, perhaps, but does not necessarily have the permission to practice law. So we don't even want to call you a lawyer. You're just a law clerk as far as I can see. And there's this one small other little detail, that your initials are LIC and not HON. HON is for honorable. Like I said, try not to laugh. But the honorable one who sits and conducts the business of the honorable court, aka the judge, your honor. So that's a pretty fast promotion. To go from law clerk to honorable judge in the matter of months. I didn't even know you passed the bar. How many cases have you argued? It's just silly. Like, silly. Did you really put this forward, Susanna? You should be fired. That's the sloppiest shit. And it's a civil matter. It's like, wow. It's so straightforward. It's not rocket science. Like, I don't know. Here we go. Look, I'm gonna turn this around so you can, the cluster fuckery of this place, right? Back down this road here somewhere is the courthouse. And look it, they got another road blocked off, and here comes a big ass truck trying to play bumper cars with me. Yeah, see? Look at this. It's crazy. You see? That's the level of the chaos. Truck go by. That is the level of the chaos and the confusion. So, she didn't come to my property no more after that. Damn sure didn't. She got the message. You will be hurt if I see you here again. I'm not going to do it so nice next time, by the way. This was a warning. And so she never came back. Nor did anyone. Because they were afraid, right? And they should be. But a week before I moved out, because like I said, I couldn't keep up. Not only was the off-grid chores and all the permaculture and everything just too much for one person to keep up with. It was a labor of love for sure, but it was the equivalent of 2 full-time jobs. And then at the same time having to deal with all this drama that these folks were spitting at me. So from there, I was like, well, I'm just going to leave my house into the hands of somebody who will look after it and take care of the garden. And 6 days before these people moved in, by the way, I don't get rent money from them. It's a work exchange agreement. So if they take care of the property, then they can, that's their house. You know, I'm going to leave it to them in my will. And they started sending like literally Maria's attorney. Here we go. This is what I say when I say there's a LIC, that doesn't mean you know shit about real practice of law. Discloses contract information, privileged information that have to do with me and Maria to a third-party contract who is not my registered agent, nor my power of attorney, nor has power of attorney for me, and disclosing this information via text message to my tenants, telling them, hey, Teresa owes Maria this amount of money, and I hope to have a solution soon. Like, he's asking my tenants for a solution